All right, nothing is impossible. Nothing. Doing nothing is actually impossible because even doing nothing, you're doing something. That's what they say. But here's the real shift nothing is impossible once you realize you are possible. And most people never make that shift. This idea changes how you see your life, your career, your creativity, your future. Because most people look at the world and ask, is that possible? And the people who change the world ask a different question. Am I willing to become the person who makes that possible? And those are two completely different ways to live. And the final idea in this video is the one that flips everything because it explains why some people change their lives while others stay stuck forever. Most things people call impossible are just stories repeated long enough that they start to feel like reality. For example, people once believed humans would never fly. Breaking the 4-minute mile was impossible. Running a business from a laptop was impossible. Talking to someone across the planet instantly impossible until someone did it. And suddenly, the impossible became normal. So the real question isn't, is it impossible? The real question is, who decided that? Your brain actually prefers things to stay the same. Why? Because the brain's main job is survival, not greatness, not creativity, not adventure, survival. And the brain loves predictable patterns. That's why new ideas often feel uncomfortable. Your brain isn't saying, that's impossible. Your brain is saying, that's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels dangerous. So the brain translates unfamiliar into impossible. Here's where the shift happens. People think success comes from ideas, but it actually comes from identity. When someone sees themselves as an inventor, a creator, a problem solver, an explorer, their brain starts looking for possibilities. But when someone sees themselves as a victim, a follower, a normal person, their brain stops searching. Same world, different identity, different results. And this leads to one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can ever make. It's hidden in a tiny sentence. 3 words, 5 syllables. I am possible. But let's go deeper. When people hear the phrase, nothing is impossible, it sounds inspirational, but also distant because your brain thinks, yeah, but not for me. And when you flip the sentence, something strange happens. Nothing is impossible to I am possible. Now the focus shifts. The question is no longer about the world. The question becomes, what can I become? Let me give you a simple example. Imagine 2 people starting at the same project. One thinks, I hope this works. The other person thinks, I'll figure this out. Same situation, completely different mindset. The first person waits for permission. The second person experiments. And over time, the experimenters win. Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they believe something powerful. Solutions exist. And here's the part most people miss. Believing something is possible doesn't magically make it happen. That's not how reality works. Possibility is not magic. Possibility is permission to explore. When you believe something might be possible, you start trying things. You learn, you adjust, you experiment. And that's how breakthroughs happen. Neuroscience shows something interesting. Your brain filters information constantly. You receive millions of bits of sensory data every second, and your brain only lets a tiny portion through. And what determines that filter? Beliefs. If you believe something is impossible, your brain literally stops searching for solutions. And when you believe something might be possible, your brain starts scanning the environment for opportunities, ideas, connections, resources. So possibility doesn't just change motivation, it changes perception. Look at history. Every major breakthrough came from someone who refused the story of impossible. The airplane, the internet, space travel, electricity. None of those came from people who said, well, I guess that's just how things are. They came from people who thought, maybe this could work. And then they kept trying. And here's the deeper truth. The biggest limits in your life are not physical, they're psychological. Invisible ceilings we install in our minds. Things like, I'm not the kind of person who I could never, that's unrealistic. And those sentences quietly shape the entire direction of our lives. So maybe the real question isn't, is anything possible? Maybe the better question is, who are you willing to become? Because the world doesn't change for people who wait for permission. It changes for people who experiment, who explore, who try things others are afraid to try. The people who look at the impossible and say, let's see. So maybe the real question isn't, is anything possible? Maybe the better question is, who are you willing to become? Because the world doesn't change for people who wait for permission. It changes for people who experiment, who explore, who try things others are afraid to try. The people who look at the impossible and say, let's see. Nothing is impossible, but the real breakthrough happens when you realize something simple. You are possible. Believe you can do it. Go in love and peace with wisdom and understanding. Enjoy this day.